pastor at Mount Cathedral Community Baptist Church, and it is my privilege to have Mrs. Pearl Timms with me today, who is not quite foundational member, but very, very close, as I understand, to the very beginning of the church. It's a blessing to have you with me today, Pearl, here as we record this. And I've got a few questions for you that hopefully will stimulate some thinking and give the viewers something to be aware of from the beginning. So if you would give me just a short summary of the circumstances surrounding your coming to Mount Cathedral Community Baptist Church. How did that all happen?
Well, it was just after it started, and Paul Belusov had been at our church, and then he started this one up in Buxton, is it? Was it? Mm-hmm. And a few of them were coming over, and we got to know Paul very well, and there was just a little something in the Marysville church at the time which, you know, we weren't comfortable with.
Sure.
So we thought we'd go and give it a try, and of course never looked back. It was a lovely, lovely church. Paul was a great preacher.
Yep.
And a lovely fellowship with so many of them that we'd known in Marysville. And we really enjoyed it, and that was just after they began. I think maybe a year after. I'm not sure what year they started.
Yep.
And so it was great. Paul was great, and it was lovely. And then, of course, something happened, and Paul left us quite suddenly.
Yes.
And I have to pay great tribute to Rod Leesfield,
yes,
who just took over and really kept the church going, which without Rod, I think it might have fallen through, because you've got to have a good leader. And he took it over, and he and Elizabeth and two lovely Christian boys, and so sad, of course, that they lost their lives in the fires. But they were just really great, and the church really flourished. Yep. With Rod, and then there was the other helpers who were Killian and Robin Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Yes, they helped Rod there, and it went on well until the Lord blessed us with Ivor.
Yes.
Pastor Ivor Jones coming along, and
yep.
then it's flourished ever since.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know that history. That so you, prior to coming to Mount Cathedral Community Baptist Church, already had connection with the Belusovs from previous church.
No, not from the previous church. We had got to know him quite well.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, and
so the way, because I'm not being familiar with all the history, not having been here, so Paul Belusov, and then obviously circumstances occurred whereby he wasn't pastor anymore. Rod took over for a period.
Yes,
how long would that have been?
Oh,
roundabout.
Might have been a couple of years.
Okay, and then from there was Ivor Jones next.
Yes,
yep.
yes. Then Pastor.
And then Pastor Ivor came along, took on the church, and I think I talked to him earlier, which was in 2007.
Yeah, that'll be right. Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. That's good. That's we're filling in some history that I didn't have already, which is good.
Yes.
A couple of thoughts for you here. What would be some of your favourite memories over the years that you've been here at Mount Cathedral Community Baptist Church? Take some time to think. But what comes to mind when you think of, wow, those were really good times?
Well, the fellowship, of course, you can only mention that. Terrific fellowship.
Yep.
And it's really, really great. And of course, after the fires, I mean, we all sort of had another special sort of a bond.
Yep.
Coming through the fires. And
do you remember any particular activities or events over the years that you think, wow, that there was really good?
Yes, well, we did have a seniors group. What did they call it? The
Evergreens?
The Evergreens. We
yes.
started up, and that was really good, because at that time we had quite a few older ones. And
who was running that at the time?
Oh yes, I must mention them, because he was really great. Ada and
Ern?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
What's her name?
Surname is, yes, I have forgotten too. But Ern and Ada ran that.
They ran that, and it was really, really great. He put a lot into that. And he was a wonderful man in the church too.
Mm-hmm.
But Ada was terribly handicapped, of course, and so they haven't been able to come.
Yep.
But so they were a great input into it, and that was lovely. And I think in general, all the groups, there were a lot of young people. We had a lot of young people.
Yep.
And of course Colin was attached to that church too, and he did a lot with Paul Belusov and his sons.
Yes.
and all the other, because we did have a lot of young people, and also quite a Sunday school of little ones there for a while, the different people that came along. So, the way they had their service structured was that we didn't have a Sunday school, but there was always a children's session, session with a story and children's input, which was very nice.
Okay, some great memories.
Yes.
This is a little bit more of a personal question, but I think it may be helpful for viewers too. Having personally gone through the fires of 2009 yourself, and having witnessed that devastation, how did the church respond to that? Because obviously there were some members that lost lives, there were other people who lost, family members and houses and so forth. How do you think the church, this particular fellowship, responded?
Oh, I think wonderfully. Of course, Frank and I, we had to go down. We lived in Lilydale for a year. We were insured with RACV, putting in an ad for RACV, but they paid for our to stay down there until, because it was only this little cabin left, and Colin, of course, had to start to rebuild and had friends coming all the time, so we decided we'd stay down there for the year. So while we were away for that year, but we did used to quite often travel up on the Sunday to join in the church, and really lovely. I mean, some great things. Out of the greatest of tragedy comes the best of humanity, and really it was fantastic, and everybody helped each other, and it was really, really good.
Okay. I've asked the others that I have interviewed this same question, and it's quite hard when you actually get to it. Describe Mount Cathedral Community Baptist Church in just 3 words. So what I'm looking for is 3 distinct words to summarise over the years, today, back then, whatever, the church.
Good Bible teaching, and of course the fellowship, outstanding. Yes,
so
the fellowship.
Bible teaching, fellowship, what would be?
Well, teaching, fellowship, what else would it be? Should I mention the Baptist barbecue luncheons?
Food.
So, no, they are great times, and really everybody. But it's just a great church.
Okay. Another really, really important one to me personally, because potentially this video may be viewed in future by generations to come in our church. Potentially. We'll see what the Lord does. But what would you, as a senior lady who has walked with the Lord for many years, been involved in this church almost since its beginning, what would you say to future generations that might watch this long after you and I are gone, potentially? What truth or message would you want to communicate to those people? And take your time to think about it. And I should add, if it's not too embarrassing, how old are you now, Pearl?
92.
So 92 years you've been
I've
saved.
travelled with the Lord the whole time. I would have been taken there as a baby into the church, and I've never looked back.
Right, so saved at a very early age, and have lived for the Lord for that long. So what would you say to the future generations of this church?
Well, I don't think there's any other one in this district, shall I say, that I would want to belong to, other than this church.
And what would you counsel people in their own personal Christian lives, as members of the church? What would you say to them? This is really important that you do or continue to be, and so forth. What would you say?
I don't know what to say on the front.
It's a big question, I know, because there's so many things we could say, but just with your experience with the Lord and in church, young people coming up that would say, what could I learn that would help me and put me in good stead for the future in my Christian life?
For the young ones coming up? Well, to give God their lives, for sure, because He can do more with them than they can.
Yes.
So I always like to tell the young people that, and and to keep God in their life, no matter what happens, just remember that the Lord is really, and over the years, absolutely proved that He is real, the Bible is true. Just follow that.
Okay. Those are, I appreciate that. So important things for our future generations, to keeping the Lord in the centre of it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you have any other sort of final comments or things that you'd like to share that would be helpful or beneficial? You don't have to, but if there's something that comes to your mind about the church, we're going to be using this video probably for at least an anniversary service sometime. Anything that you'd want to say or add to from what you've already said?
I don't know, just that I love it. I love the people, and it's just great to see the young ones and having a great pastor like you, which is really lovely, because you're really very knowledgeable, there's no doubt about it. Even though I suppose I've read the Bible hundreds of times through the years, and I can't remember them now anyway. Lots of it, so lovely to hear. You're just so well educated, of course, not very big education in my day. Left school at 13, of course, and Frank, and of course my lovely husband was also belonged to this church, and of course that's extra special. I don't know what else I can say. Just say it's lovely to come here, and I'm sure anybody that steps in that door can feel the warmth and the fellowship of the people.
Amen. Thank you, Pearl, so much for taking the time. For those watching, this is not something that Pearl loves to do, but I'm so thankful that she's taken the time, and I think for all of us it's a huge benefit. Thank you. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you, and it's lovely to have you, our pastor.